Okay, so funny thing I found out in the last few months is a CRO in finance means something different. It means Chief Revenue Officer. I say conversion specialist because then people know that I'm not the Chief Revenue Officer, because I've been receiving a few finance conference invites for Seattle and San Francisco, and I was like, I think you have the wrong guy.
Welcome to Table Stakes, where we dive deep into the conversations that matter most in CX. I'm Michel Stevens, course director at CXM Academy, and today I'm diving into something many people will want to know more about, using research to actually drive conversions. You can have the most beautiful website, the most sophisticated analytics setup, and the most detailed customer personas, but if you're not converting visitors into customers, none of it matters. The gap between having great research and driving actual conversions is where most organizations get stuck. Today, I'm joined by Daniël Granja Baltazar, a conversion rate optimization specialist B2B at Vodafone Ziggo, who has been recognized with the prestigious Experimentation Elite Award. Daniel, welcome to Table Stakes.
Yes. Hi, Michel. That was quite a mouthful, but thank you for the personal introduction. Yeah, happy to be here, and always happy to talk about not only CRO, but also especially how to apply it in the B2B space.
Yeah, that would be great. Now, before we head into the rabbit hole of research and all that, tell us about your journey. What do you do? I mean, the job title is enormous. So what do you do? Who are you? And how did you end up here?
Who I am, first of all, I'm Daniël Granja Baltazar. I am 32 years old, born and raised here in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. As you might figure from my surname, it's not a typical Dutch surname. It's in fact a Portuguese one. I have Portuguese parents, so I was raised bilingual, speaking both Dutch and Portuguese. Later on added English, French, and Spanish to the mix as well.
You're going to hate me for this, but allow me to congratulate you on your Experimentation Elite Award. I know it's
Thanks.
a huge recognition in the CRO community. I heard, but I don't know if it's true. But I heard it's like the Champions League for CRO. And I was wondering, what does that award represent to you, and what kind of work led to that recognition?
Yeah, thanks. It's like, yeah, a huge milestone. The fact that I have to say we won it, like the company Vodafone Ziggo, because obviously I didn't carry the project on my own. Yeah, the Experimentation Elite Awards, it is like the Champions League of the CRO awards, because there's companies not only from the UK, but actually all over the world that actually send in cases, both from B2C and B2B side. At Vodafone Ziggo, we had never been nominated for this award, even though we tried a few times to get the nomination and hopefully a win. And it was super nice that in this case, we sent in a B2B case, which also within the company, B2B is seen a bit as lagging behind compared to B2C. And not only did we get the nomination, but he actually won the award while having Booking and McPaul as finalists in the same category. So what it kind of shows also internally is like, hey guys, we're setting something up and we're being recognized by the industry for it. And in this case, what really made the jury pick Vodafone Ziggo as the winner was because we redesigned the homepage of the Vodafone Business website, not in a traditional way, like let's put the design live, maybe do some A/B testing and only focus on the quantitative research, but was part of the process from the beginning till the end was also the qualitative research. So we decided to say like, okay, let's focus on one thing first. That's going to be the navigation, because there's different business segments and there's lots of different products to discover. Let's tackle the navigation first. We sat down, came up with all kinds of ideas. In the old way, we would pick one of those ideas and a designer would build it would design it, the developers would build it, and then afterwards we'll figure out if it works or not. What I actually said here is like, hey guys, let's do it the proper way. We pick 4 variations, and we actually gonna pre-test them via Lisna, a tool that we use. So we ask a bunch of questions, we showcase these 4 different variants, and the users on our website can actually pick the ones which they like best and also give us feedback about what they like the most. And interestingly, the 2 variants that won out of that pre-test were very different from each other. So that gave us the idea like, okay, let's take those 2 winners, create a combined variant, and then those 3 navigation variants we're going to use and thoroughly test during user interviews. So we then had 8 interviews with 8 different entrepreneurs. Some of them were customers of Vodafone Business, some of them weren't. And I just sat down together with my CRO colleague, and we just interviewed them for 60 to 70 minutes, one-on-one via Microsoft Teams. We gave them some tasks to do. We showed them the 3 different navigation variants, and we didn't only get the feedback on which variant they preferred, but also what they preferred about it. So the combination of the 2 winning variants was the one users preferred, but we learned a lot of things that we would never learn from A/B testing. First one, we used red titles in that navigation element that were very generic. And some entrepreneurs who have dyslexia, you scan really quickly. They said, well, this grabs my attention, but it doesn't say anything. So either remove it or make it more descriptive. That was an insight you won't get out of an A/B test. The second one, which was the more funnier and also more insightful insight, was that in the navigation component, we were talking about products, like the actual product names. So we're talking about business internet and OneNet, business mobile, like all these product names that we have and we can dream them. But during these user interviews, a lot of people are struggling to figure out what the heck is this?
Yeah,
like, am I taking the right... Exactly. Am I taking the right turn here, or am I going to the wrong direction? So what entrepreneurs told us is like, what is this? Yeah, that's our broadband internet offering. Well, in a navigation component, just call it broadband internet. I'm looking for something and you're making it harder for me to find it. This was an insight that we presented like across the entire B2B organization, also the other insights. But this was something where I actually put a mirror up, like, hey guys, we're not Apple. It's not that everyone, including their grandma, knows that an iPhone is a smartphone from Apple. We're just Vodafone Business. Like, people who are even a customer don't even know what their subscription is called. They just know I have a mobile phone subscription from you with unlimited data, and I have broadband internet. But we somehow forget, because we're in this day to day, we hear all these product names, we see them on PowerPoints, we see them in dashboards. We somehow think like, oh man, this customer must be dreaming about Red Pro and Business Mobile. No, man. No, they don't.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir here, because that's something I tell people as well. Like, once you put your business hat on, all of a sudden people start talking about their own lingo, their own language, whereas outsiders typically don't get that. I always tell people, just talk like a human. That's already crazy enough. But let's start with the fundamental problem. I think that research is becoming more and more important for organizations, yet conversion rates across industries are stubbornly low, or there is a little movement in. What's creating this gap between research on the one hand and results on the other hand?
I think the problem here is like twofold. I think the first one is the misconception that if you measure things, then you know everything. There's like a really stubborn misconception that exists. In Dutch, we have this saying, Meten is weten. So if you measure it, you know it. I always say that's total bullshit. Like, just by having numbers on a dashboard we know the numbers. We can see a trend. We can make comparisons, right? We can say, hey, in this week, the number was 100. The week previously, the number was 200. We're doing really bad. But if the previous week, the number was 50, we're doing really well. But then come the why questions. What happened? Why did the numbers go up? Why did the numbers go down? And I think there's not enough people who really try to dig through the numbers and understand them. And also a lot of people that work with data, they're only focusing on working with data and they kind of ignore the qualitative research. There's also this misconception, right? Like, qualitative research takes a long time, it's hard to find participants, etc. For the Vodafone Business homepage redesign, we found 8 entrepreneurs super quickly, like within a week, just by adding an extra question on a survey that we already had running on our website, where we asked, are you interested in participating in future research? If they said yes, we asked for their email address. We got like 30 names within a couple of days. I emailed them with a very clear brief. What are we going to research? How long is it going to take? What do we expect from you? Computer, internet connection, 60 to 70 minutes from your time. And what do you get from us in return? So we gave a bol.com voucher of 50 euros to reward people for the fact that they're willing to help us and spend 60 to 70 minutes of their time in this research. Didn't involve an agency, didn't involve any expensive tooling whatsoever. Like Mopinion, we already had running. We already had surveys running. I simply took a step.
Right?
Yeah, that's a survey tool.
Okay.
Simply what I did is think about like, okay, how can we recruit these participants without making it annoying? So not adding an extra survey to the website, but adding an extra question to surveys that already exist in the website. And we found those participants super quickly. Those bol.com vouchers we purchased. That was a very easy purchase. The thousands of euros you save on recruiting via an agency that's gonna recruit people that are in their database that sometimes are a match, but often they're not. In this case, you already had people that visited our website. So entrepreneurs that visited our website, they already filled in a survey. Great. Some of them were customers, some of them weren't. So we also had that mix covered.
Yeah. But a question that I have is that how do you balance the need for a comprehensive understanding, right? With the urgency of driving results? Because there's always business pressure, right? There is always this pressure to deliver me some results right now. You've done enough research, deliver it now, right? How do you balance that need?
I mean, I understand it, right? Like the business is every quarter looking at the results and there's targets, there are goals, right? You're in a commercial company. It's like not a non-profit. So I understand that point of view. What I don't understand and what I always counter is when people sit on their island and they say, this is my team, these are my goals, and this is what I care about. And I don't care about any of the other stuff. And then I challenge them on the fact that the customer doesn't see it that way. The customer doesn't rate sales, marketing, customer service, the web team, like all of these different teams, they don't rate them separately. They rate Vodafone Business in general. It's great, it's good, it's mediocre, it's poor, or it's shit. And that's the rating you're gonna get. We're all playing in the same team. So when people try to fully defend their own goals and not wanting to take a step back into the bigger picture, and this is where my sales experience comes into play, I like to use easy metaphors just to show people that it doesn't make sense. It's like you're in the same football team, but the guy who's in front, the striker, is going to be like, I'm only going to be in this part. And the midfield is going to be like, I'm only going to be in this part. And the defenders, well, screw you guys, I'm only going to be in this part. And the goalkeeper is like, screw the goal, I'm going to go somewhere else. It's raining. What's going to happen? Like the competition is going to obliterate you. Like you literally need everyone on the team to work together in order to defend yourself against the competition, but also score goals against them. Because the competition has these problems as well. They try to orchestrate things, and there's also different teams that are like working in silos. So what I try to tell people is like, okay, let's take one step back and put ourselves in the customer's shoes. And I always try to tell the story from the point of the view of the customer. So I don't talk about product names, services, etc., because then people are like zooming in or zooming out, whether or not that product or service is part of their silo. So I leave that out on purpose, and I just talk about, Mark or Laura or whoever, like this entrepreneur that arrives on our website and has a need. Either we're going to fill in their need and they become a customer of ours and we do a great job keeping them, or otherwise they go to the competition.
Yeah, we'll do something else. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
And it's like we spend a lot of money on marketing, right? On acquisition, a lot on marketing and advertising. And we all know it doesn't matter which industry, which country. If we talk about acquisition versus retention, retaining existing customers is always cheaper than acquiring new ones. Always.
Yeah. Daniel, there is one thing that is on my mind. So in the lead up for this conversation, I knew that you are in B2B. We know each other for a while now. And what I wanted to ask you, that most CRO advice assumes that you have thousands of visitors and you can actually run statistically significant A/B tests, right? Because if you have the volume, then you can compare in a decent way. But what about B2B companies and niche markets or new products where traffic is actually limited? How do you drive conversion when the traditional playbook doesn't really apply?
Yeah, so this is even a misconception that I get a lot at conferences. When I talk to other CRO people, they're like, you work at Vodafone Ziggo, you have millions of customers. Like, you don't have problems with low numbers. And I'm like, guys, I'm at the B2B side. Like, this problem is a very big problem. I would say this problem occurs like 80% of the times. And it doesn't mean that because you don't have the numbers for A/B testing that you can do CRO. Because again, CRO is not only A/B testing. CRO is really about having an experimentation mindset, thinking about what is an hypothesis, so some kind of assumption that we make based on previous research or data that we have, something that we want to validate whether it's correct or not, and how do we go about it to test whether or not this assumption is right, whether this hypothesis is right or not. A/B testing is one way to do it, right? We make a change on a page. If we have 10,000 users per variant or more, usually we have enough to show statistical significance and say, look, we can say with certainty that due to this change, we had a positive impact on the conversion rates. But there's other things we can do if you don't have those numbers. Or also, not everything is about A/B testing. So even if you do have those numbers, sometimes it's good to do a preference test. Put something up and just ask people out of the options which they prefer and why. Gives you a ton of insights. You don't need statistical significance for that. You don't need 1,000 people to tell you, I prefer option B. You can have 50 people tell you, I prefer option B because of XYZ, and you already have some insights that you can apply on the website, in email, and other campaigns. Also another thing, for example, prototyping is also something that you can do, right? So we have this mindset. I think it still comes from the early web development days. People still think a designer designs a page, development builds it, the content editor fills it, it's live. Now we look at the results. And then they're always talking about how many sprints is it going to take to design and to build and to put that page live. Somehow assuming that, we just put the page live and we think we're going to nail it. We know from reality that a lot of the stuff you put live is not right the first time. So what you actually want to do is say, wait. Before we spend 2 weeks on designing a new page, developing it and putting it live, let's do something else. Let's create a prototype in Figma, an interactive prototype that the designer can make in a few hours. that you can showcase. Like on a website via an opinion pop-up, you could send people to that Figma prototype and ask them for feedback. You could do in-depth user interviews where you can go way into depth, where you can really understand, like, do they understand the copy? Do they understand what we're trying to convey on this page? Do they have the right expectations about the next step? Like, these are all things that we can do, but it's just, yeah, I think the name conversion rate optimization, people just get stuck with conversion rate. So we need to improve that. And A/B testing has for a very long time, since the early days, been the prime example of CRO. So a lot of people put CRO and A/B testing in one box and that's it. While preference testing, prototyping, user interviews, there's a lot of other things we can do on the qualitative research side.
I think that you're known for your expertise in combining qualitative and quantitative research, and I think this isn't just about doing both, but it's about making them work together in some kind of strategic way. And my question then is, how do you create this marriage? How do you create this wedding between qual and quant? How do you do that?
I think it starts from the very first question, like which method is suitable for which situation. And quantitative research is perfect to say how much and when. So we can also see trends. And it's great. Like we can look at online sales, we can look at website visitors, we can look at how many people downloaded the brochure, scheduled a call, reached out to customer service. But then we see all those numbers, and then the questions come, why? Why is there an upward trend? Why is there a stagnating line? Why is there a downward trend? And we cannot answer the why questions without doing the qualitative research, because then we're just making assumptions about the data. And that's something that happens way too often. I also see this particularly with young people. They sit in a room at a corporate and they kind of copy behavior, right? Just like little children copy behavior from adults.
Yeah.
They look around and they see some people just blurring an answer because they think if I don't have an answer, I look like a fool, I look ignorant, and they start to copy that behavior. And what I just do in those kind of meetings when people either ask me those questions because I supply the numbers and I show them the trends, is I just ask the question, why do you think that's the case? And it's actually a trick question because I ask this and then everyone gives their assumptions. And I just wait for everyone to finish. And then they ask me, like, what do you think? I say, I don't know. Might be that the answer is out there. Might be that all of you are wrong. There's only one way to figure it out. And that's to do the qualitative research. That's to actually ask the people that can answer the question. And we are not those people.
Yeah.
And I think once you do that from that point of view, not trying to attack people like, hey, I know it all, but actually saying, I have these numbers and I cannot say with certainty what's causing them to go up or down, but I do have a plan how to find that answer. It kind of creates this safe space where people know it's okay to say that you don't know. But then the conversation changes to how are we going to find out? And it's a much more fruitful conversation to have than to make assumptions about the data and basically go to the roulette table and hope that all your chips are on the right color.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any favorite or go-to qualitative research methods? Or is it, well, I'm giving you my answer already, but so I was actually going to ask you, what's your favorite qualitative research method? And then I was thinking, or does it depend on the situation? Yeah, obviously it depends on the situation, but do you have any favorites?
It depends on the situation, and it also depends on how fast do you need those answers, right? So, in a perfect world, we have plenty of time. The reality is we don't. Like, some commercial results can be really under pressure. We need to know now because we need to make a plan to follow up on that. In those kind of scenarios, like, okay, we need some qualitative research, but we can also not afford to wait a month. We actually do need to have those insights in, let's say, a week, maximum 2 weeks. In that case, I wouldn't advise user interviews, right? Because I know that's not going to make the deadline. Like, it's going to take a week to recruit them, another week to do the interviews, and then another week to have like the report that can be shared with all relevant stakeholders and to determine the action items. If I know that there's like very strong pressure, hey, we're at this part of the website where we're bleeding money and we really need to know what's going on, yeah, then I would look at other things in the toolkit, like, for example, micro surveys, very short surveys that we let pop up on these parts of the website where we really want to have answers, like, hey, what's going on there? And then you can already have the answers after a week, depending on how much traffic. Like, I can give another example. Like 2 months ago, I analyzed the product page for cloud telephony. And I'm going to share this case also later on in LinkedIn in more detail, but people get the preview here. We have this product in cloud telephony, which is called OneNet. And last year in Q4, we run a Google Ads campaign on this product, which did really well in terms of clicks from Google search to the landing page. But on the landing page itself, it didn't really convert that well. 2 months ago, the media team came to me and they said, Daniel, we have some remaining budget for Google Ads. We remember that last year we did this campaign for OneNet, which did really well in terms of clicks, but not that great in terms of conversions. Like, what should we improve about that page? Or should we focus on another page and spend ad budget there? And what I did is I looked at the data in Google Analytics to see how many people had visited the page. Then I looked at data in Content Square to see how far did they scroll down on desktop versus mobile. Where did they click versus where did they not click? What we then saw on that page is that that page was 8 screens long on desktop and it was 15 screens long on mobile.
Oof, yeah.
And most of the Google Ads traffic was coming in via mobile.
Ooh.
So RIP to all those thumbs. But yeah, it didn't come as a surprise that on that heat map, the majority of people was not seeing the bottom third of that page, while the bottom third of that page had the most important information.
Right.
The product brochure, the FAQs that actually had all the questions that people want to have answers to, and different contact methods. So phone call, schedule a call, or web chat.
Wow.
I then took another step to see like, okay, but these are all the numbers on our website, right? But let's look at the bigger potential. So if we look at how many times people Google for this solution called VoIP, voice over IP. So it's like calling over the internet instead of through a fixed telephony line. I looked at the search volume and I saw that roughly 3,000 entrepreneurs are searching for this every month. And then you have this tool that's available for free called Answer the Public. You throw in a search query in there and it gives you the main questions grouped together that people have about this query. Main questions here: what is VoIP? So people saw the term, they're not sure what it's about, they're not sure if it's the right solution that they're looking for. And the second one is, how much does it cost? And obviously in the Netherlands, people love to know, is it free? Then they Google, what's the price per month? We always love the freebies. So the second one is relating to price. So we knew like, okay, the page was too long. Most important part of the content was being skipped. If we look at search behavior, there's quite some search volume there. Most people really want to know, what the hell is VoIP? Is it the right solution for my problem? And how much does it cost? And then I did an analysis of all the landing pages of competitors from this product. And some are the well-known brands, KPN, Odido, but there were also brands that were not in our sites, that only offer this particular cloud telephony solution. So I put all those landing pages on a whiteboard together with this entire analysis, and then organized a session with marketing, media, and sales. And I told the 2 account managers from the sales team that I invited that I was going to present an analysis that was going to take roughly 15, 20 minutes. And the second part would be where their knowledge and expertise would come into play. Because after I presented this analysis, I actually asked them, like, what is this product about? What's the sales pitch? How is this different from what the competition offers?
Right.
And I also asked them, what are the most common questions that you get about this product when people schedule a call about it? Guess what the most common question was?
What's VoIP?
What is VoIP? Every sales call starts that way. People heard about voice over IP, they don't know exactly what it is. And because I showed the previous analysis, the salespeople start to laugh because they were like, it starts to make sense. It's not only the people they speak to on the phone, it's even the people who are searching for this potential solution. So the briefing to the content editor was clear. It was like, okay, remove one net in the H1. Let's focus on VoIP. Let's have a first paragraph where we really explain what VoIP is. So people have this 3-second check in their mind, like, okay, this is the thing I need. Then we showcase the pricing, the FAQ and the brochure, and then the contact options. We went from 8 screens on desktop to 3.5. We went from 15 screens on mobile to 6, but in a way more structured way. So it's actually much easier for people to scan it. We then started the Google Ads campaign this month, beginning of this month, and we're going to run it for September and October. And once every 3 weeks, I have evaluation calls with the sales team. Because what I can now already see in the data is that we're getting 60% more leads coming in. That's a great trend, right?
Yeah.
What I want to know, is it really a great trend? Are those leads actually good quality? So next week, no, not next week, in 2 weeks, I'm going to have the first evaluation call. And then we can go into the why. Like, okay, I see this uplift. It seems good. Is it really good? And if the sales teams gives me some nuggets, some extra information about things they get asked during the calls that are not on that landing page or are not in the Google Ads ad copy, then we can still do those fixes. And at the end of this campaign, if we see it's a success, because not only do we have leads, but we actually get sales out of this, then we have a great starting point for an email campaign to our existing customer base that doesn't have this product yet.
Yeah.
So this is really about thinking how to move step by step in a trial and error way. So quantitative research, qualitative research, update that page, not just put it live and, hey guys, let's see at the end of the campaign. No, have that feedback loop with sales because they're talking to these leads. Have that feedback loop to understand, are there things we can improve on the page? Are there things we can improve in the ad copy? Are the leads actually good quality? Because what I told everyone in this project, and funny enough, now I'm being dragged into other product teams because they want this approach as well for their product, because they already saw 60% more leads. Let's go.
Sign me up, Daniel.
What I tell them is like, it's not about up or down. It's not about like red or black. We're not at the roulette table in a casino. It's about the learnings. What do we learn from this project? What do we learn about potential customers? Because otherwise, if you don't do it this way, we're just throwing money, in this case at Google, but we also spend a lot of money on Meta, Facebook, Instagram ads. We spend a lot of money on email, third-party emailing, on LinkedIn ads. If you're not doing it in a proper scientific way where you have this feedback loop, then we're just throwing money at these big parties. And we just hope like, hey, let's see if enough money falls out of it. But it's basically like you're addicted in a casino playing in a slot machine. If I throw enough coins in, hopefully I win the jackpot. It's like, come on, guys. That's not marketing. That's like a gambling addiction. Let's not do that.
Yeah. Well, I have an example, but unfortunately, it's one of my competitors, so I'm not gonna diss them. But I'm on their email list, and they send me an offer like every 6 weeks. It's like, yeah, I'm stuck in a loop, and I'm waiting until I see when are they going to give up to try and convert me into a paying customer. But every 6 weeks, I actually get a discount, a very hefty discount even. Um, and it's what you say. At some point, you're so addicted to that spike in interest and spike in sales that it's very difficult to get out of things. So yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
that's a
I
dangerous
think
game to play.
I think the real conversation also that needs to happen is how are we going to achieve like long-term sustainable growth and not just these short-term dopamine hits, you know? Okay, so what if we hit the numbers this quarter because we had a few lucky shots? You're not going to have those lucky shots every quarter. So the mindset should not be about these are my targets and I'm only going to stare at that. It's really about let's take a step back together and say what are the things we know, what are the things we don't know yet, how do we get more pieces of the puzzle to put together so we not only hit the targets this quarter but in the upcoming quarters as well. And also so we're going to beat the competition because
Yeah.
customers, you know, they don't live in this bubble where once they're Vodafone Red, they never look at the competition. They go to birthday parties, they talk to other entrepreneurs, they hear constantly about how the competition is doing. So if we raise the bar in a way that people in the market will notice it, they become a customer and they're satisfied, hey, good luck to the competition trying to steal them away. That's going to be a
Yeah.
very expensive game.
Yeah, it's gonna be yeah, that is absolutely true. Hey, Daniel, we're coming to the end of our time together, and I want to make sure our listeners walk away with something they can actually immediately apply. Now, for a
Mm-hmm.
CX professional who wants to start doing conversion focused research tomorrow, what's
Mm-hmm.
the very first thing they should do?
Whew, good question.
Sorry.
Also, really, really hard one to answer because it depends on the situation you're in. But I think what people would benefit from the most is to really talk with different departments, find out what their numbers are, what their goals are, and how they're doing, what's helping them, what's blocking them at the moment, and try to picture together like what the total puzzle looks like. And then as a CX professional, you always try to put yourself in the customer's shoes and then try to think like, okay, based on what I have here, what should be the first steps to test? Don't think about, I know it all and we're going to go all in this way, because that's again the casino mindset. It might work and then you're the hero. It might not work. And then those teams don't want to work with you again. Uh, I'm exaggerating, but I think people recognize it. It's really about understanding the global scope, the challenges that need to be overcome, and then say, okay, based on what we know this far in terms of data, qualitative research, etc., what are some things we want to validate, we want to test? It can be an A/B test, can be user interviews, it can be prototyping, but the most important thing is start small. Don't
Yeah.
go for a huge ass project involving multiple departments, but really think how can we start this in the smallest way possible to validate whether this is the right direction or not. So the famous MVP, minimum viable product, is really about having it as small as possible just to test the hypothesis. And then if you know, hey, this is the right track, you keep building from there. If it's not the right track, no problem, because you started so small that not all of the resources were wasted on it for the entire quarter.
Yeah. And with those wise words, we're calling it a day. Whether you're in B2B or B2C, whether you have a massive testing budget or you're scraping by with free tools, there are always ways to uncover the insights that will actually move the needle on conversions. Thank you, Daniel, for sharing your award winning expertise and showing how to make research that actually converts.
Thank you, Michel.
Thank you. And
Ciao, everyone.
thank you for listening to Table Stakes. If this conversation sparks something in you, we'd love to hear about it. Until next time, remember, insights without action are just expensive opinions, but insights with action can transform your business. Thank you and see you later.
Ciao.